"A real man never cries" is probably the biggest piece of BS I've ever heard. And Zoro has unfortunately become a victim of this lie, because the stronger he's gotten, the less human he's allowed to act, to the point where a single smile could kill him. Every little goofy moment he got slowly disappeared for this perfect cool guy image, almost as if being strong means you have to become emotionless. But make no mistake, he does still feel things and he still cares, it's just that he barely expresses it anymore. And so before he fully becomes the ultimate nonchalant king, let's go over what exactly changed and everything he lost along the way. There's this toxic idea that the stronger you are, the less emotion you show, and that both things cannot exist at the same time. But in reality, nothing strips away humanity more than this very perfect standard that people hold him to. Zoro's emotional suppression is not his strength, but a flaw. And before you come at me, this isn't me bashing him for it, but breaking this misconception that a Zoro who expresses his feelings is a weaker, more broken Zoro. When the truth is, that's literally the best part of his character. Because if you look back, these were the parts that made us love him in the first place, not because he was some cool aura farmer. It was the Zoro who'd get lost, who would yell like Tarzan and strike funny poses, who would play along with Usopp or Luffy, and most of all, the Zoro who would laugh his heart out. But now in Egghead, after Vegapunk died, Zoro tells Luffy to stop crying over the old man's death, that it's not becoming of a Yonko to mourn like this. Now when I first saw this scene, he came off as incredibly mean. Vegapunk just died, and yet he expects Luffy to move on just like that? But then it hit me, that it's not that Zoro doesn't care, it's more like he's actively burdening himself with this idea that someone has to stay grounded no matter what happens. But keep in mind, he is just 21 years old, and it's only been 2 to 3 years since they've been sailing. And yet you expect me to believe this change in him was growth or some sort of character development? He's literally closing in on himself, and people are slapping the labels of stoicism or peak masculinity on him, to the point where they genuinely believe that he would kill a straw hat for Luffy, or that Sanji wouldn't survive whole cake if Zoro were there. But before all that, the reason these awful takes even exist in the first place is because we don't get to sit with his personality anymore. Now, I'm sure you'd say that for the sake of world building and story progression, this was needed. And since his team is already filled with comic reliefs, someone needs to be the serious one, especially because without Luffy around, he is their first line of defense. But there is someone who completely shatters this idea, and that is Gojo, who proves that you don't need to take yourself too seriously to be strong, that you can let it all out, laugh, feel, and engage with people while still being the strongest person around. Sure, Zoro has never been good with kids, nor has he been the flashy type, but he's had his moments. Moments where he isn't just standing with arms crossed going full on alpha mode, but actually someone who starts conversations instead of just being a statue people talk around. And ironically, the only person he does break character for is Sanji, who for better or for worse, is Zoro's sole anchor back to his actual self. But despite all that, what's still very much absolute about him is that he loves his crew. He's just horrible at expressing it. And I have this killer interpretation for this exact case, which if Oda actually intended, would make it even cooler. Which is that Zoro getting lost isn't just for the gags. It's symbolic for if your conviction is frail, if your pillar is weak, then you will get lost. And Zoro's pillars are the Straw Hats. Because if you think about it, the only time he ever gets lost is when he's away from them. Now, he wouldn't admit to this and would probably aggressively deny all allegations, but what I mean from all of this is that regardless of how little we get to see him be his goofy self, what's something that will never change is how much he still cares. And the only real tragedy of Zoro's character is how he is portrayed. He's constantly only given scenes that push the plot forward or are used purely for combat. Like, he doesn't get any of those smaller facets anymore, like when he would babysit someone or get stuck in a chimney or be forced into embarrassing situations. But now he's just too cool to face these human peasant problems. And it's reached a level where people don't even expect him to react anymore unless it's with his sword. Lastly, I just want to clarify that I don't mean Zoro should become weak, emotional, or goofy all the time, but just enough to show that he's still human underneath all that aura. And I hope that as the story goes on, we see him genuinely struggle, not physically but emotionally, where his beliefs are put to the test, where he feels human again. Because true strength isn't something that erases someone's humanity, but one that lives alongside it.